Howdy, it's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and WCCSradio.com. That guy over there is Bob Pollock from the Indiana County Extension. He joins us this morning, and you can call Bob and ask him questions about lawns and gardens and such at 479-1160, 349-WCCS. And it is, well, Bob, it's that season of the year when we begin to think about Japanese beetles. Everything else seems a little bit early this year, and I'm seeing some signs that there could be Japanese beetles out already in some areas. Everything's early this year.
Yeah, things are pushing. They're ahead of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, warmer weather, and dry weather can kind of push things along a little bit too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you had it in the ground and it was planted, it's probably put on more growth and maybe maybe flowered sooner than usual by maybe almost 2 weeks.
Well, we talked last week about the Japanese beetle traps, those bags that you put out in the yard, and you wonder about those. And maybe we'll get into that in just a second or so. But we do have a caller this morning, and we want to find out what's going on with them and maybe help them out. Good morning.
Good morning.
What can we do for you today?
I was wondering if we should be spraying for the tomato blight.
Oh.
Okay.
Good question.
And we can say which blight.
Early blight,
no,
late blight?
Yeah, so...
Early blight or late blight?
Yeah,
I'm
so
early.
Yeah, early blight. That one overwinters here. The spores, that organism lives here year-round, and that one's always around, ready to attack plants in the spring and summer.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the late blight, different organism. One's a fungus. The early blight's a fungal pathogen. Late blight is a phytophthora, which is a water mold. So completely different organisms.
Mm-hmm.
And early blight, yes, you can be protecting your plants now for that. Usually that works slower and always starts at the bottom of the plant on the oldest leaves because those spores are able to survive in the top of the soil at the base of the plant, and so then they'll release. And usually those spores, when they release, will hit the lower parts of the plant first, so that's where it'll start. If everything looks healthy at the bottom, you can probably hold off and just keep observing that. Whenever we have wetting periods, that's when those spores will germinate and start to grow and make spots on the leaves. So you'll get some little spots on the leaves themselves, and then you can get a little bit of a darker margin around those, and then a little bit of yellowing on the leaves. So as far as controlling that, we can actually pinch, a couple of those oldest leaves off at the base. If we start to see that happening, we can actually just pinch those leaves off and remove them. That's a control measure.
Okay.
And then we just need to recognize that our fungicides that we would use, whether they be more conventional materials or organic materials, that they are preventative. So we've got to have those on the plant ahead of time so that when the spores land, there's enough residue of that material there to either stop them from growing and kill them.
So we're using the same spray for early blight or late blight?
Yes, typically those sprays are similar.
And that's the copper-based spray?
Yes, so we can use, right. That's definitely one of the options. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the copper-based or the chlorothalonils, which come under different brand names, all work for that. But again, regardless, they're still preventative materials, and both those products are kind of generalists. Mm-hmm. They're general protectors and work well.
So if we see the yellowness, the leaves yellowing on some of the branches of our plants, we should pinch those off because those will continue to spread,
If they're yellowing because they have disease on them.
if that's the reason.
Yeah. So with early blight, septoria leaf spot is another one that will get started. Another fungal pathogen that we'll see, and we just need wetting periods, so that can be dew. We don't have to have rainfall to wet the leaves. So dew overnight, if we consistently get that, if we water in the evening and soak the plant down, that's a wetting period. So in the evening, those leaves are going to stay wetter longer, and that can be long enough hours, that those spores are able to get started.
Are you still there, caller?
Yes, I am. I'm listening to all of this. Thank you.
Do you have any other questions?
Well, then I guess we water in the morning.
Yes, that's the best time. If you can fit that into the schedule, there's two ways. If you're going to water in the evening, if that's the only option you have, then water the soil. Try to really minimize
Not the plant.
Not the plant,
plant.
because the roots are absorbing the water. So that's where we want to get the water, as opposed to overhead irrigation where we're like a normal rainfall.
Yeah.
We can't adjust that unless we grow them in a greenhouse. But we're trying to keep the plant dry.
Dry.
And
Okay.
the drier we keep it, both foliage and fruit, the less disease pressure we're going to have. And putting
roots
it off.
wet, plant dry.
Yes.
Roots wet, plant
So we
dry.
want to, water the ground. So, even setting up, and as the plants grow and things thicken up in the garden, it can be harder to get that done, depending on the spacing and all that and how the plants are growing. So we just have to try to manage that. So, one option's a soaker hose down the row that you can hook up at the end and just let that water all the plants. Or if you can do it in the morning, the reason to do that is, yes, we wet the plant, but like right now, we've got a breeze going and the sun's out. That plant surface is going to dry off pretty readily, faster than what those spores can germinate.
Okay, very good. Thank you for the call.
All right, and thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Have a great day.
And
Thank you.
and no sign of late blight yet. None of the late blight monitoring systems that are available. We haven't had. There isn't any incidence of that yet.
Yay.
Yeah. Cucumber downy mildew, which gets on cucumber, also will get on other plants, but that's a big one that's very susceptible to it. That was spotted down in New Jersey, and so of course the people that are growing in those neighborhoods in southeastern Pennsylvania, that's more of an alert to them to be looking for that, because as we get storm fronts and weather patterns that could potentially move that from where it was identified and move it to other locations, it's just a early warning system for that.
Our cucumbers are going crazy this year.
Yeah, I mean,
They're nuts. I mean, wow, they're spectacular.
and that's the difference of having a drier year versus a wetter year. So much difference. When the ground's always wet, and we've got puddling and we're at field capacity for water, and we have a lot of dampness, they will not do as well. But you get sunny, warm days, drier weather.
So we think of cucumbers as being such a watery type of plant and a hydrated plant that it doesn't seem that would be the case. That wetter weather would be better for the cucumber, but they like the dry.
Nope, they need to dry. We need to keep those. There's just a number of diseases that can attack, cucumbers, the vine crops in general, and so having sunny days, dry foliage, getting that humidity out of there. Again, yes, watering the roots. If the plant has the ability to absorb moisture through its root system and function as it should, and keeping things dry, then they will perform a lot better. They will grow more, they will vine out more, and they will last longer and produce more.
Let me ask you this, and we only have a couple of moments left. With that dry weather, the ground in the garden It turns very hard
Yeah.
and clumpy, lumpy
Cracks
type
open.
of stuff. Yeah, cracks. It's just really, really hard. And yet we did a second planting of lettuce, and it's up perfectly fine. So it's interesting to me that somehow seeds find a way, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And even when you haven't had the rain, seeds will find a way. Let's see if we can squeeze this one last caller in. Good morning.
Yeah, can you put on a request yet?
Oh, for you want to do a birthday?
Let me think
okay,
real
okay,
quick.
well-
I forgot.
Oh, okay, hang on just a moment. We'll get right back to you. Okay, she wants a birthday request this morning, but isn't that the case that the vegetable plants somehow do that?
Yep, and obviously, you can work that soil. It can dry up on the top, and it can crack a little bit, but just lightly working that, and it's drier. So we're doing a lot less damage to the soil structure when that soil's dry. We can lightly work that up enough to plant seeds, get a little moisture on there, and then those will germinate and grow. And two things are going on there. Both, at this time of year, we have warmer soils and the sunshine, the longer days, and so that allows plants and seeds to germinate, transplants to grow quicker, seeds to germinate faster, under those conditions.
All those good things.
Which is a struggle sometimes in the spring when we try to push things along. Those soil temperatures are cooler, the days are shorter, we have less sunlight, and so it's tougher and it takes longer than it does now.
Mm-hmm. All right. That was a birthday request. Happy birthday, James Costella of Indiana. And thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
It's the voice of Indiana County, WCCS.
Hello, this is John Lefdahl, director of the John A. Lefdahl Funeral Home. When there is a death in your family, the John A. Lefdahl Funeral Home has been the primary choice for services for decades. Our funeral home provides traditional services, cremation options, monument sales, pre-arrangements, and pet cremations. Our directors provide you with caring, compassionate service and helpful advice. When you need us, we will be there. You may contact us at 724-463-4499, the John A. Lefdahl Funeral Home, providing dignity, compassion, and excellence.
In this ever-changing complex world of technology, who do you turn for expert solutions? EMB Computing. Now in their brand new state-of-the-art facility, EMB Computing offers solutions for residential and business applications.